This content is by no means intended for anyone under the age of 13. It is made for adult losers undergoing any sort of existential crisis. Midlives are accepted. Nobody under the age of 13 is allowed. If you are of such an age, I advise you to watch this with a parent or guardian, or kindly get lost. Also, this movie review is not 100% factual. I am merely giving you my unsolicited thoughts on this movie. If you're unable to comprehend that, then please put on your big boy or girl pants and make up your own damn opinions.
Welcome back to another episode of the IAS Shortcast. This is the one-stop shop for a movie fan on the go. Today's episode, the Oscar nominations are out. Welcome to the IAS Shortcast. My name's Eamon. I'll be your host today as we talk movies, TV, and much, much more. So we've got a bunch of topics lined up, but before we get into that, I'm going to quickly let you guys know that this podcast is available on iTunes and Spotify, and soon, very soon, on Google Play. So yeah, let's get into this. We have a bunch of topics lined up. We've got Morbius, the trailer just dropped. Not a fan, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Scott Derrickson has just left the Doctor Strange sequel due to creative differences, the dreaded creative differences. Catwoman Zoe Kravitz was scared to meet Michelle Pfeiffer, and we're going to talk more about just that project in general, because I'm really interested in it. It seems like it's going to be a good one. But the main topic, the main reason you guys are here, if you're here, is to talk about the Oscar 2020 nominations. They were released this morning. I just saw them like an hour and a half ago. I'm recording this the day of the release. I don't know when I'm going to upload it. I think I'm going to upload it the next weekend. Yeah, this is a stacked day. I'm going to be talking about each category. For the most part, there's some categories that are too boring for the show. I'm just going to talk about the main ones: Best Actress, Supporting Actress, all that stuff, Cinematography, Adapted Screenplay, Original Screenplay, Best Director, Best Score, Best Picture, and many, many more. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you guys do want to talk more about this stuff, I have a YouTube channel. It's All Subjective. Go ahead on youtube.com/c/It's All Subjective. And you won't be disappointed. So let's get into that Morbius trailer. That Morbius trailer came out about 4 hours ago, and I've seen it 6 times. And each time, I've disliked it a little bit more. The first time I saw it, I was kind of like, all right, there's a Morbius trailer coming. This is coming from a fan of the Morbius character. I've got most of his comic issues from the original ones with Venom and all the way to the recent releases. I'm a big fan of Morbius. But I'll tell you what, I am very, very disappointed. And here's another thing to you. I liked Venom. I did like Venom, but I did not like the trailers. So again, hold this with a grain of salt. A bad trailer does not mean the movie is going to be bad. It just means I didn't like the trailer. And why? Why was that? Well, you see, the first thing that came to mind when I watched it, the first time I watched it, was this kind of has like a 90s action film vibe. And then I realized, no, it has a bad 90s action film vibe. It's kind of like, talking about some of the bad Stallone and Schwarzenegger movies from the 90s. I'm not a fan of True Lies. I'm not a fan of these movies. So I was very disappointed. It felt like a shitty, I've got it written down, it felt like a shitty 90s action movie, which it did. And, it did not connect us to the protagonist. God, I wish it did. Jared Leto is one of those actors that just, it's a shame. It's a real shame. He's one of my favorite actors working today. And he's been in 2 comic book movies. And it looks like the second one is not going to do him any justice either. The first one, Suicide Squad, did not give him what he needed. It did not. Like, we're talking about probably the best actor in the last few years. And he's not being given what he deserves, His performances, are just... I get it, yeah. He's a character actor, and sometimes that can feel kind of worn or tired. But there's something about his level of acting that we don't see today. And a man of his caliber is given Suicide Squad, which I wasn't a big fan of Suicide Squad, and I felt there were a lot of problems with that movie specifically. One of which being the mishandling and kind of disrespect that they had for Joker. And I'm not talking about the character design. I've got a few problems with that. But what I'm saying, they had, if you gave Jared Leto scenes to shoot, which they did, I know they did because some of these scenes were in the freaking trailer. You give him scenes then whether the scenes are good or bad, you put them in the fucking movie. Don't throw his scenes out because you didn't do a good enough job, David Ayer. Keep them in the movie. This is the Joker we're talking about. It would have made the movie so much better. Whatever, they went for a music video type, which, okay, fair enough. I mean, they had a music video company cut their movie, not their trailer, cut their movie. But all that said, I wasn't a big fan of what they did with him. And Jared Leto was not the problem. With what he was given and what he gave us, he was good. But again, the way they handled his character felt icky. It felt almost like they were taking advantage of not just Jared Leto and the character Joker, but taking advantage of us, because I expected Joker to be in about 20 to 30% of this movie. He was barely in 1% of this movie. He was in 2 scenes. And that's it. And that just felt bad. And that's kind of the idea I get here. Not about the cutting him out, but the mishandling of Morbius. Morbius, again, he's the character design is not bad. That one shot in the trailer that we see him turn around and he looks like Morbius. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. He does look like the comic book character Morbius, but that's the problem. I would have much rather them focus on the character than the costume design, because it looks like, from what I've seen, that it's gonna be. We're talking about Catwoman today, the upcoming Catwoman movie. This movie looks like the 2001 Catwoman. Not in the way the characters are and stuff, but just in the way the film is shot and there's this whole jittery nature to this movie, which feels wrong. Like the first 15 seconds were very grainy, very, torn and worn, and that's kind of a vibe you get with Joker. You don't get that with Morbius, and maybe they're planning on taking Morbius in a route that's different from his comic book counterpart, because in the comics, don't get me wrong, I mean, I like the character Morbius, but he's not supposed to be a character that gives an actor Oscars. He's just supposed to be an over-the-top, yelling and bowling kind of character who just looks cool. He's on the level of Blade. He just looks cool. And that's not what they're giving us. It seems like they're trying to give us a character study, which, fair enough, give us a character study. But that's not what we want. We want more. We want the fun, back-talking nature that Morbius had. And I'm ranting about the movie and I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna give it a fair chance. I'm not gonna go into it, blind with hate. I'm gonna give it a fair chance. But one of the things that I expect from a trailer is to let me know what the story is gonna be like. And what we've gotten so far is just 2 aspects. That Morbius himself, the main character, the Doctor, is sort of on the kind of he's got a broken body. He's sick, I think. I don't know what they were saying. They mentioned a disease which I couldn't bother even remembering. And then he's going on a crazy rant, the whole way he got his superpower. It was insane. Did he use machine for that? Was he using machinery to get his powers? That's not right. That's not how it's supposed to be. But hey, that's just the movie. It could be. Yeah, again, like I said earlier, I loved the Venom movie. I think that I am a sole, defender of the Venom movie. I think it's not just a fun movie. I think it's very good. I think it's a highly respectable movie, in my opinion. But I wasn't a fan of the trailer. So a bad trailer could come out for a good movie. A good trailer could come out for a bad movie. It's happened. One example being Batman vs. Superman that came out a few years ago. The trailers were just insanely good. I mean, I remember sitting there with my sister just going, whoa, this movie's going to be sick. And then there's Batman and then Superman. And then the movie came out and I fell asleep. I fell asleep in Batman vs. Superman. I fell asleep about halfway through the movie. It's just one of those situations where, and a trailer could be good or bad. But I've lost hope in this movie. I'm probably not going to go see it unless I see the review embargo. If it's got good reviews, I'm going to go see it. If it doesn't have good reviews, I'm just going to skip it, because Morbius is one of those characters that I don't want to see people misuse. I don't want to see people treat badly, because I have such a fond memory of him as a child that I'm not going to, if this movie turns out to be bad, I'm not going to go see it. I can't go see it. I'm gonna leave it, and then hopefully another good Morbius movie comes in the future. But I'm not gonna waste my time, in my emotional time and my emotional money here, trying to give them what they want. And again, just a whole long way to say, I hope it's good, but if it's not, I'm not gonna go see it. Well, that's just it with the Morbius trailer. I'm gonna move on to something more interesting. Hopefully something that comes that turns good, but it doesn't seem so. That's the Scott Derrickson situation. Scott Derrickson recently announced on Twitter that he has left the Doctor Strange to the Mouth of Madness, or the Multiverse of Madness. Sorry, it's inspired by In the Mouth of Madness from the 80s, and there's something about this that just feels wrong. And the excuse he gave was creative differences, which, what? Like, creative differences used to mean something like 10 years ago. The studio, they want to go in one direction, and the filmmakers didn't, and that's what it meant. But now it's just another way of saying, we fired the guy. I got fired. Creative differences means I got fired, because I wasn't listening, or because something happened. But I'll tell you what. There's a flip side to the situation. I'm not against it, and I'm not for it. See, I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of the Doctor Strange movie. I think Doctor Strange is probably top 10 MCU, which is saying something, because all the MCU movies are amazing for the most part, But I feel like one of the big, situation that held the movie back from being better than it could have been was Scott Derrickson. Scott Derrickson's helming of the movie felt almost amateur-like. The action scenes were kind of, I'm not talking about the crazy magic action, which most of that was just helmed by Industrial Light and Magic, and the producers. Directors don't really deal with visual effects, so I don't really give him credit for that. But the one thing that he did wrong with the movie was the actual hand-to-hand combat. Some of that is just 90%, 95% punches, which, again, that's not the way Doctor Strange should be handled. So on the one hand, I'm kind of happy about that, because I've never been a fan of Scott Derrickson as a director. I think he's made some good movies. Sinister, the first one, and this one, and the, I can't remember what it's called, The Haunting of Emily Rose, or Emily Dickinson, or something like that. Not Emily Dickinson. But yeah, I think The Haunting of Emily Rose. I like that movie. But again, here's what I'll say. If Scott Derrickson remained, would I have been angry? No. I think he would have done a good enough job. But, again, I've got the notes here. It says, I've got a history about, the MCU has a history of letting people go and it going wrong. Edgar Wright was originally supposed to take over the Ant-Man movie, and what happened was him and Marvel left over creative differences, and it ended up going to Peyton Reed, who did a fine job, but it's not what it could have been. People often say, what Peyton Reed did was amazing because, he took an Ant-Man character and he made him relatable, and I'm just like, no, that's not amazing. People often confuse what's not been done before with something that's innovative. Just because it hasn't been done before does not make it innovative. Ant-Man as a character is not that complicated to get behind. He's funny. He's interesting. That's simple. Anybody, like hell, like some shitty like Amy Schumer could get us behind an Ant-Man character. It's not that difficult. And but one of my problems with the movie is actually the way the comedy was handled. It could have been better. And some of that, like, there's the comedy is 54%, copy of Edgar Wright's work, and the rest just terrible comedy. So again, the only thing that worked was the 54% that, Peyton Reed copied from Edgar Wright, which technically not copying, because Edgar Wright is the person who created those shots and stuff like that. So, he's he made the movie before him, so Peyton Reed can't go against what he's doing. He has to follow that route. And I've never been a fan of the comedy in these, in Ant-Man and the Wasp and Ant-Man. The only thing that's been there for me was Michael Pena. He's amazing. He's just off the charts. But Edgar Wright would have elevated that movie to an Iron Man, or to a Doctor Strange, to to a Thor Ragnarok, he would have done that. But, whatever. That's just one situation. And the other situation is Patty Jenkins, who was let go from Thor the Dark World. And guess what happened there? It stunk. I mean, this one's a little bit easier to explain because, obviously most people hate Thor the Dark World, and they gave it to some, Game of Thrones directors who didn't do a bad job. They did a fine job. I'm not against. I don't hate Thor. I actually hate Iron Man 2, and I hate the second Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Captain Marvel. I hate Captain Marvel. But I don't hate Thor the Dark World. But it could have been better if you would have given it to Patty Jenkins. What she did with Wonder Woman was just amazing. She gave that movie heart. She gave that movie character. And again, that's what the MCU has a history of giving us bland, vomit work. One of which being Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is very bland. So that's just my rant on Captain Marvel. I don't like Captain Marvel. I think Captain Marvel is just dull. It's bland. There's nothing to it. There's no visual style that is synonymous with a certain director. There's nothing there. And Patty Jenkins would have given us something with Thor the Dark World if it was called Thor the Dark World at the time. And, that just ties back to the situation with Scott Derrickson. I think him leaving is good. I've got on my notes here that it's on the flip side that Joss Whedon's leaving was good, because Joss Whedon's leaving gave us the Russo brothers, helming of the Avengers movies. And I think the Russo brothers certainly gave us some of the best moments in history. And, if Joss Whedon would have carried it on, it would have been the same situation as Star Wars. Star Wars just declined, and, Avengers would have declined if Joss Whedon had stayed on. So I feel like there's two sides to this coin, but I'm very anxious to see what happens next. I think they're gonna have to move the release date of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness back a little bit, which might mean that we're gonna get some, maybe Black Panther 2 a little bit earlier. It depends on what it is, but I think we might get one of those films earlier. I hope they don't move it. I hope we get a director as soon as possible to take over, but that's not gonna. I don't think that's possible. All that said, let's move on to the Catwoman story. I'm actually gonna skip it. I'm gonna skip the Catwoman story because I don't have much time here. I gotta get to the Oscars. The Oscars 2020 nominations. We're already at 15 minutes here. 17 minutes here. We gotta get to this quickly. So here I'm just gonna pull up the list here, and there was something amazing about last night when I watched this not award show, but the live stream. Obviously, it took a long time to get to the live stream, but once we got there, what I loved about it this time was that there was no comedy. They even mentioned themselves, no stand-up routine. They're just gonna get to the nomination. So I appreciated that. They were quick about it. It probably took about 25 minutes to get through the entire list. Sorry. So here I've got the entire list. So let's take a look at Best Picture. So with Best Picture, we've got 9 nominations. We've got Ford versus Ferrari, which, just incredible. Just what a wonderful choice. I did not think that they were going to nominate Ford versus Ferrari, but I'm glad they did, because that was one of the movies that I am incredibly excited that they nominated, because it just shows that the Academy is not against, genre films or films that have kind of heart behind them, and this specifically one being a racing film. So I'm excited about that. We've got The Irishman, which is not a surprise. Jojo Rabbit, which is just one of the films that I think should have been nominated first and also should win. I think Jojo Rabbit is up there. Joker, I don't think it's gonna win, but I'm glad it was nominated. Little Women was a surprise. I didn't think it was gonna get nominated because frankly I didn't consider it to be, a 2019 movie. So I didn't have it in my window. So there we go. It's nominated. Marriage Story, which oddly enough is written and directed by the husband of the person that made Little Women. Greta Gerwig is married to Joe Baumbach or something like that. I can't remember the guy's name. 1917. That's one that I was surprised by, and I'm still surprised by, because I don't consider it to be a good movie. I think 1917 is one of those movies that is pretentious. I like the movie, don't get me wrong. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's one of the best movies of the year. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, obviously it's getting Oscar praise. Of course, it's about Hollywood. You know, that's bound to happen. Parasite, I'm happy he got nominated. What a wonderful choice. We're going to skip to the best actor here. Antonio Banderas getting nominated for Pain and Glory is one of those situations that I did not think was possible. I had him on my list. I made a list of who I wanted to get nominated, and he was on my list. So I'm glad he did. But I was surprised by it, definitely. Leonardo DiCaprio, not a good choice. I don't think he was Oscar worthy. I don't think he should win. I don't think he should have been nominated. But hell, who am I to choose? It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You know, who's to say that, you know, there's nothing going on behind the Oscars here. Adam Driver getting nominated for Marriage Story. This category is hard. I'm gonna move to the next one and give my thoughts on the whole thing. Joaquin Phoenix for Joker and Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes. Okay, I think Adam Driver has a chance of winning. Sorry about that. Has a chance of winning for Marriage Story. But I'm going to go ahead and say that Joaquin Phoenix is going to take it. I personally would go for Adam Driver because there's just more to that role. But I'm not going to be shocked if Joaquin Phoenix takes it. I'm not even going to be upset. I think he did a great job. You know, he was great in Joker. We've got Cynthia Erivo for Harriet, which I haven't seen Harriet yet, but I'm told it's good. Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story. I think she's gonna win. I think she should win, and I think everyone thinks she's gonna win and should win. Saoirse Ronan for Little Women. Not a surprise. Charlize Theron for Bombshell. Fair enough. I don't think she's a lead actress though. I think she's supporting. But who am I to say who's supporting or who's leading? Renee Zellweger for Judy. Not a surprise there. And let's move lower here. We've got... I'm going to skip supporting and actress and actor. I'm going to move on to director. And this one is kind of amazing for me. Again, like I said, I don't like 1917. But what Sam Mendes did there was just incredible. So I'm not surprised that he got nominated, and I think he might win. I think he has a chance of winning. The one that surprises me here is Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because if you looked at the Directors Guild of America, he didn't get nominated, and he didn't win because he didn't get nominated. He got no love from the Golden Globes. Like, it's surprising that he's on this list, but again, I'm not against it. I think the winner here, the obvious winner here is Sam Mendes. He's going to take it. But if I had to choose, I would go for Martin Scorsese. I mean, what he did with that movie and what he's been doing with that movie for the last 10 years, I mean, there's no better choice for director here. It's Martin Scorsese. But hell, what do I know? Best animated feature. This one is tough. I think Toy Story 4 will win. Missing Link has a chance of winning. But in my opinion, there are only 3 movies that should win here. I Lost My Body was incredible. Not many people are talking about it. I don't know why. It's kind of shocking to me. It's one of those situations where I think if I had the choice, I would definitely nominate it and give it the Oscar by hand. I think it's the best animated feature of the year. But also, I'm having a hard time also separating it from How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. I loved How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. I think it's just as equally good. But then there's Klaus, with directed by Sergio Pablos. Oh my god, that one is just as good. So I don't know. In my opinion, I think I Lost My Body, How to Train Your Dragon 3, Klaus, all have a chance of... Not all have a chance, are my favorites and my picks for winning. But I think the winner here is Toy Story 4. They're taking it home. Toy Story 4 again. Pixar, come on. Pixar's going to take it home. Missing Link is definitely... Because I think it won the Golden Globe. So it definitely could win the Oscar. So again, I'm not shocked by this list. And the one I am shocked, though, by is Taika Waititi. He got nominated, for adapted screenplay. And not only am I shocked, but I am excited and I am happy because that is the best screenplay that was created for 2019. I don't think there's a better screenplay than Jojo Rabbit, by Taika Waititi. But I don't think it's gonna win. If it does win, then God praise the Lord. But again, I don't think it's gonna win. I think The Irishman is gonna take it. And again, it's one of those situations where I prefer Jojo Rabbit. But if The Irishman takes it, I'm not gonna be upset. The Irishman, obviously, the whole dialogue. Martin Scorsese has the thing of getting these quick, sharp dialogue. It's written by Steve Zalian. I can't pronounce his name, but I think this movie has a chance of taking it. This guy's written most of Scorsese's films. He's written Schindler's List, and they're gonna give it to him. I don't think there's any question there. They're gonna give it to The Irishman. The Two Popes has a good screenplay, tons of sharp, witty dialogue. But let's move on to original screenplay here. And I'm not even going to read the entire list. I'm just going to go ahead and say, original screenplay, Rian Johnson's going to win. We've got Rian Johnson for Knives Out, Marriage Story, Noah Baumbach. 1917 with Sam Mendes and Christy Wilson Cairns. They're not going to even get a choice. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino. Parasite by Bong Joon-ho and Jin Won-han. I think the win is going to Knives Out, and I think the win should go to Knives Out. I think 1917 had a terrible screenplay and should not even be considered, but hell, what do I know? The Irishman is being looked at here for cinematography, as well as Joker, The Lighthouse, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think The Lighthouse is going to take it home, but I would prefer that Joker or The Irishman take it. I think Joker and The Irishman have two of the best cinematographers. I think the two ones that are in the lead for winning are going to be 1917 with Roger Deakins and The Lighthouse, both of which are just pretentious, and I'm not against them. I loved both of them, but they want the Oscar, and there's nothing subtle about them. But again, I'm not against it if they win. Who knows? And I'm going to go to my last category here before I wrap up the show, and I think this one's a fairly obvious one, film editing, and I think we all know who's going to win this one if you've seen this movie. We've got Ford vs. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, and Parasite. And I think that without a doubt, without a second thought, the best film editing directing win here should go to Ford vs. Ferrari. Just for that opening action sequence on its own. But again, the entire film is amazing. We've got Michael McCusker here and Andrew Buckland, who wrote this, and I'll tell you what, if they win this, I am going to be impressed and I'm going to be excited. And sorry, that's not the last category. The last category is visual effects, which I'm going to talk about. Avengers Endgame, The Irishman, 1917, Lion King, and Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Now, the obvious ones here are Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, Lion King, and Avengers Endgame. These are the ones most people are considering. And I personally think that The Lion King will take it home and should take it home. But I think there's one that's sneaking in there that's probably going to take it too. And that's The Irishman. See, The Irishman is meant to hide where the visual effects are. And there's some bad moments with The Irishman. There's some moments where you can clearly tell that the person's face is melting, just on screen. And it's one of those scenes where I'm just like, I want it to win, but I just, on good conscience alone, I can't give it to The Irishman. I just have to give it to Lion King. Lion King should win, and Lion King will win the Oscar. And that's pretty much it for the list, guys. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. It was fun to do. And yeah, I'm just going to tease the episode next week. We're going to be talking a lot. We're going to be talking a lot about what we're doing with... should I tease it? Alright. We're going to be talking a lot about the Oscar wins, and we're going to go over the MCU and talk about our favorite MCU movies. And that's going to be next episode. So, guys, I appreciate you guys checking out this episode. Be sure to check out my social medias all below. This podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, click the links below. I've linked the iTunes and Spotify. You can also check it out on Google Play. By the time this podcast is out, I'm sure that we will have Google Play. But again, I appreciate you guys watching this video or listening to this podcast. And talk later.